and welcome everybody. 138 MMA here to break down the entire Bellator new 295 fight card. We're going to start with the prelims. We're going to work all the way up to the main event of the evening. And I do apologize, this one's coming out just a little bit later this week because, well, we got two Bellator cards and also the UFC card. And that's just a lot of videos to record, and that's a lot of tape study. So we've got it all done, though. You know I put in the research. You know I put in the work. And I'm going to provide you with all the information that you need. So I know it took a little bit longer, but here it is, guys, and I appreciate y'all for tuning in. If this is your first time here, hey, thanks. I'm glad you found the channel, and I really hope you enjoy this. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I love to see you guys in the comments, especially when I know your names, and I've seen you a few times. It's kind of like we're best buds, you know what I mean? So don't forget, hey, and if you've already tossed that like, I appreciate it very much. Don't forget, you can find me on Twitter and on Tapology, 138 MMA. If you want access to all of my notes, my picks with confidence ratings, as well as a Patreon parlay, you know where it is. You can find me on patreon.com/138MMA, and that's everything you could ever ask for, as well as some other stuff. And I'm always taking suggestions. If you want more stuff on there, let me know. I'm sure we can find a price point that works out well for you. But without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and break down this card because this is a fun one. Bellator's second night in their Hawaii series, I guess. So let's watch that after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, 138 MMA proudly brings to you the hottest picks in the world!
Slated to kick off the card in the welterweight division, we have Alexey Shurkavich taking on Masayuki Kikuiri? I think that's how I'm going to say it. I don't know if that's exactly right. Bear with me on the names here, okay? Especially because when I was watching his fights, it wasn't in English, so bear with me. Both guys 4-1 in their last 5 fights, and realistically, these guys are both strikers. That's where they want the fight to take place. Let's start with the Kikuiri side. This dude has one of the cleanest just 1-2s with so much zip to it. My goodness. Some of his knockouts are just nasty. When he hits these guys, he's sending them to another dimension. It's fantastic to watch. But he's not just a knockout artist because he'll work the body as well. He'll drop down low with the punches. He'll, get those hooks and uppercuts to the body. But the thing I really like is his liver kick. He's used it in a few fights. He's only had one that I saw that he just completely ended the fight with it, or should have ended the fight. I guess he had to fall with some ground and pound, but basically it was over. But he's thrown it a few other times and landed to the body with that, kind of like we used to see Boss Rutten do. He just kind of pulls the toe back and it's like the toes back, and it's halfway between kind of like a roundhouse kick and a front kick. It's like somewhere between the two of them, and he's like jams them toes right up in the liver. I like it. It's a nice style. So very good there. He will follow his opponents to the mat after he hurts them if they're not already unconscious, which is going to be rare because this dude hits like a freaking tank. But he will follow him to the mat and throw some really heavy ground and pound. Now on the other side, he's a very similar opponent, probably a little more patient, but similar. He's a very solid striker with some real power, but he's patient until he's hurt his opponent. Once his opponent's hurt, the dude goes in for the kill immediately. Like, that's it. We're going for this thing. And that's fantastic because he's also a counter striker. So if he can counter that 1-2 of Kikuiri, you know what I'm saying. If he can counter that 1-2 and come back with a shot of his own, I think he can put him out. And if he needs to, when he goes to the ground, he's very safe there as well. He does have good grappling. He does have a sambo background. He doesn't really use it so much offensively, but defensively he does, because when he gets on top and he's landing his ground and pound, he's very safe. He's able to avoid submissions. He's able to avoid any jiu-jitsu attempts from the back and use that as a way to keep the opponent stuck, stay out of danger, and land really heavy shots, calculated shots. He's not in there just slinging the 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, hammer. No, he's keeping him locked in, and he's throwing very precise shots. It's very damaging. He wants to put you to sleep. He doesn't want a TKO. He wants to put you to sleep. So, for me, it's a close fight. I'm going to lean with Shurkavich in this one. Real close one, though, like I said. This one could go either way. Both guys have serious KO power. So, I'm going to pass on it entirely, but let me know what you guys think. I'm feeling I'm going to have a weird take in this one in comparison to some of the other people making picks. So, stick with me on this one. We have the women's 125-pound division. We have Bruna taking on Ilara Joanne. I think is how you say that properly. Joanne or Joanne, something like that. Anyway, for Bruna 2-3 in her last 5. Sketchy. One of those was a win. We're not going to fight on it, but one of those was a win. She got ripped off. 3-2 for Joanne. Anyway, this matchup here is interesting to me because Bruna pretty much just a striker. Yeah, I mean, I guess she's okay on the ground, but not really. She's a striker. She has that kung fu background. Solid 1-2, good counter striking, and she'll end her combinations with kicks, whether that be to the legs or to the body. Not so much to the head, but she likes to end her, she'll come in with the 1-2, big heavy one, and then just slam that leg kick, or 1-2, body kick, 1-2-3, body kick. She'll stick those combinations out there, and then she'll slip that kick in there at the end. And I do like that because it shows that she's looking to get the finish in every exchange, and she does hit pretty hard. So, I mean, she's a 125-pound female, so she's only going to be able to hit so hard, but she hits pretty hard. So, for Joanne on the other side, the problem is she's decent at striking. In fact, that's what she got into MMA with, was kind of a striking start. Her background isn't really in anything, but striking is kind of what she started to learn first. But the problem is her striking defense isn't that good, and she does like to strike. That's a problem because she has good trips. Once she gets someone in the clinch, she can typically get them to the ground with a trip. But the jiu-jitsu is where she's the best. She's good at position over submission. She's not going to get a bunch of subs, but she can control on the ground and just rack up control time, maybe land some shots, whatever. But this is where she needs to be to win this fight. But I think she's going to fall into this trap, and because she's done it before, and she's been able to eke out a victory by going back to this after this has failed. But I think Bruna Aalon is good enough in the striking that she's going to hurt her a lot on the feet. And with the way judges have been these days, they don't seem to be favoring grappling whatsoever with the last few weeks or few months or whatever. So I'm gonna lean Bruna Aalon here, but zero confidence. You shouldn't be betting your money on this fight. But I'm gonna take Bruna Aalon for the sake of I think this fight's gonna end up on the feet. I do think she's a much better striker than Joanne is. So let me know what you guys think. If I'm completely off my rocker on this one, I know her record looks sketchy, but she's a lot better than her record, and she has fought some decent competition. She's just almost exclusively wanting to strike, and if she gets in a matchup where she can strike with the opponent, she'll do a lot better. So that's where I'm at. I'll see you guys. In the heavyweight division, we have Kasim Aras taking on Davion Franklin. Both guys 4-1 in their last 5. Both only with 1 loss in their career. But Aras is pretty much a wrestler. He's pretty much just a wrestler. He has very, very much a wrestling background. He's added the ground and pound into his MMA game. But wrestling is what he's going to have to do in most of his matchups to get the win. He does have very, very solid wrestling. The takedowns are there, and he can just start throwing hammers on you once he gets you to the mat because, well, he's going to be able to get on top of you and land some big shots. But he's much shorter than Franklin in this matchup, as we see 5'9" to 6'3". I don't know if y'all know this. I'm 5'8", so I'm close. I'm close, okay? I'm an inch off here. Somebody that's 6'3", when I look at them, I feel like I'm looking at somebody that's like 10 foot tall. I understand that's not how that works, but I feel like here. It's going to be very tough for Aras to close the distance on a guy like Franklin. Now, Franklin, he's a good wrestler in his own right. He likes to slam his opponents. We saw that against Marcelo Golm, where he was ragdolling that poor guy for a while. He's also got very powerful striking. Golm is kind of interesting because he's durable. And that kind of caused Franklin to gas out in that fight, and that's why he lost. Franklin was winning that fight. If it went to decision, Franklin was going to win that fight. He just gassed out and then got choked out because Golm he's durable. Let's give him that. And this right here, this Davion Franklin, this is the reason that I told y'all to pick Daniel James in that Daniel James versus Marcelo Golm fight, and it looked like it paid off for us, okay? But Franklin couldn't keep the cardio like James could. So, Davion Franklin, he's going to have to get this fight done in the first couple of rounds. I don't think he's going to have trouble with it. I think Franklin's going to be able to get this done because I think Aras is going to have trouble getting that takedown. I don't know if that's how you say his name. Either way, I think he's going to have trouble getting the takedown. I think he's going to have trouble covering the distance. And I think Franklin's wrestling's good enough to stop at least the first couple of takedowns while he's still fresh. And he's going to be able to land heavy shots on the feet because he does have something of a Muay Thai background from my understanding. But I don't know. I'm not super in-depth on that. But the way he looked in the Marcelo Golm fight, I think he's going to be able to get this one done without too much trouble. So Franklin's the pick. Let me know what you guys have. And lightweight bout here between Aalon Cruz and Bobby King. Both guys 3-2 in their last 5. Cruz is the younger fighter at 33 as opposed to 39. 39 is getting up there just a bit for that lightweight division. Sorry. Obviously, Cruz is a very tall fighter. He's 6 foot with a 78-inch reach. and 5'9" for the 70-inch reach for King. So there is that. And this is actually going to play a big role here because realistically, when you break this matchup down, it's the more polish and skill versus the height and like flexibility that make Cruz's a striking game just a little bit more deadly than a lot of people with his level of skill. So let's go ahead and break this down. Let's start with King. So for King, dude's a solid striker. You see him go high and low in the same combination. He'll go back and forth. So he can start high, he can go low, come back high in the same combination. That's talent, right? That's really real striking skill there. Not many fighters are able to do that. Basic strikers do just one level. Good strikers are able to do both levels. Very, very good strikers are able to go both levels multiple times in the same combo. I think Bobby King's got underrated striking. I know people think he's a good striker. I think it's underrated. He looks very, very good out there when he's throwing these. Now, it could be some because of the level of competition. He hasn't fought the top-tier fighters, but his striking is very good. He stays just out of range. Now, I think that's going to be trouble for him here because he's going against a guy who is obviously 8 inches longer in the reach department, but basically going to be a giant compared to him. He's, not a giant, but he's going to be very, very tall compared to Bobby King. So for King, that just out of range might be trouble, and we'll get back to that. He also has a really nice snapping front kick up the middle, right to the body. So a lot of times I wish you could see the front kick. I'm going to try and show you, but you can't. So just the way the camera's set up. A lot of times with the front kick, your fighter will bring the knee up and they'll go forward like you're trying to kick a door down. Fantastic. That's great. That shoves your opponent back. And depending on the way you angle the foot, depends on whether you're trying to get them more backwards or dig deep into their body. If you're striking with the ball of your foot and penetrating through, you're trying to dig that foot into the opponent's body. If you're striking more with the whole foot, you're trying to shove them back and create space. Still obviously hurt them, but shove them back and create space. He kind of does his front kick a little different, where when he brings up the knee, instead of the trajectory being forward, it's coming kind of like a scooping kick, where he snaps the ball of his foot up underneath the opponent's kind of rib cage and just snaps it in there kind of in a whip like this motion. Instead of up and through, it's whip through. I hope that makes sense. And that type of motion is very damaging on a person, that especially if they don't have a solid core. Because when you hit them in the core at that angle, like that, you are going to suck the wind right out of them. And I do really like that from Bobby King. In this matchup, he might have trouble getting that close, but if he can and he can land something like that, he's definitely going to be able to suck the wind right out of Cruz. Because Cruz, being such a tall, slender fella, I imagine that core doesn't want to take that kind of a beating. So, I could be wrong. Maybe. I do think the wrestling advantage goes to Cruz here. Don't have a ton to go over because I do think it's going to mostly be a striking matchup, but I do think he has the wrestling advantage if he wants to start trying to work for that. But the striking here, this is what gives me pause. Otherwise, I would jump all over Bobby King if it was just skill for skill, but this is what gives me pause. Cruz does have good striking, but he has these nasty head kicks that are just because he has such freaking long legs. I wish we had the leg reach of these two guys, but his legs are like stupid long. And his head kicks are so lightning fast and look effortless. He's not, when I throw a head kick, I have to really like throw that head kick. And I'm a pretty flexible guy. But because he's so much taller than most of his opponents and very flexible at the same time, he effortlessly flips that kick up there and hits his opponent right in the face before they even knew what happened. It's almost as simple as him walking up a stair. That's how easy it seems for him to flip that head kick up there. I can't emphasize that enough. That is a big deal in this matchup. For a guy that's going to have to cover a lot of distance, over a half a foot, he's got 8 inches to cover just in the arm reach. I can't imagine in the leg reach how far that's going to be just to get in close enough to strike. So that is important. And he also has knees up the middle that I really like that also effortlessly come up to the face. There's a real possibility that Cruz knocks out Bobby King with one of those or just bludgeons him up to the point where he's just like a bloody mess. And even if it goes to decision, there's no way you're not picking Cruz. Because of this right here, he's not the more skilled striker, but he definitely has some serious advantages, and I think those are a nightmare for a shorter fighter because he has made these two things work for him very, very well in a lot of fights when he's fighting guys about this size. So, this is an interesting one. I'm going to take Bobby King, not gonna be super confident, but I do think I want to say the skill is going to be able to outdo the very specific advantage that Cruz has. And I could be totally wrong, But let me know what you guys think. Do you think I'm crazy on this one? Do you think this is going to end up being a wrestling match and I've got no idea what I'm talking about? That's also possible. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm crazy. But my pick's king. Let me know what you guys have. And I'll see you next. There's a reason that confidence with picks has to be stated. You can find those over on patreon.com/138MMA if you are interested. But there's a reason that confidence with picks comes with, because some picks are very confident picks, and other picks, you're only making a pick because you're making a video and they put this camera here, or I put this camera here, and I've decided to give you my opinion on it. So we're going to break down this fight, and I'm going to tell you now, this could go vastly different. I'm going to explain both ways that this could go, but this could be two widely different things, okay? We're going to start with Weber Almeida taking on Keoni Diggs. Weber Almeida, 4-1 in his last 5. Diggs is 3-2. Both guys are good strikers. We're going to start with Weber Almeida here. He's a counter striker at heart. He's pretty much exclusively a striker, and he's a counter striker at heart with a good-ass leg kick. But his output is horrible. He's just going to stand there for minutes at a time sometimes, and he's just going to wait to counter. And sometimes that works out great, especially when his opponent's pushing the pace and making him try to counter. But he also could just not do anything. And even if he is being forced to counter, he's looking for the perfect counter sometimes, and it just doesn't go his way. On the other side, very karate style, okay? Very karate style, that needs to be said. On the other side, we have Diggs, who's the opposite, where he has good striking, but for different reasons. The dude's throwing combos, and he's constantly the jab. It's always going. Like, if you're counting every jab he throws, even if it's just got nothing on it, as a striking attempt, this dude's striking accuracy has to be like 2%, because he's throwing just countless jabs. It's just constantly going. Just whether it's kind of just one of these, or if he's sticking something on it. But it sets up his 1-1-2 really well, where he just pop, pop, boom. And then something he does really well when he throws that 1-1-2 a couple of times, sometimes he comes back with the 3 when he's trying to land that shot around the outside because he's gotten you doing this. And then sometimes he comes back with that roundhouse kick, whether that be down low to the body or up to the face. Honestly, I'm going to take Keoni Diggs in this matchup just for the fact that he's going to throw some volume, and I think he's going to be able to outwork Almeida. But there's a real possibility that Almeida just puts him out cold because he counters a shot and just sleeps Keoni Diggs. Least confident pick on the card, probably, and that's saying something because of the Brunell pick earlier. But let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next flyweight bout between Veta Arteaga and Sumiko Inaba. So for Sumiko Inaba, she is 5-0. That's her whole career. 3-2 on the Arteaga side. Now, for Sumiko Inaba, the Bellator has been trying to get her kind of moved along. She's a very marketable fighter. So they're trying to give her some matchups that they think, like, yeah, we can get this girl some wins. Here we go. And this is the next one in that step, but this is a step up in competition because Arteaga isn't just a pushover. She obviously has a winning record, which is nice, and she has more than 3 fights, which is also nice. So for Arteaga, she's not bad. She's a decent striker, but Inaba's a pretty darn good striker. She has a kickboxing style to her, and she throws combinations, and she's very quick. She's going to be a lot faster than Arteaga because Arteaga's going to be Arteaga's much slower, okay? But if Arteaga comes out there with a grappling-heavy game plan, starts going takedown after takedown, sure, Inaba's going to work back to her feet when she gets taken down, but if Arteaga's able to take her down enough, she's going to be able to start laying on Inaba at some point, wearing her down, grinding out minutes, and getting maybe some ground and pound attacks in there, something like that. But Arteaga's going to have to be able to commit to a solid, consistent grappling game plan, and she's going to be eating punches while she does that because in the striking exchanges, it is not even close how much faster Inaba is. Pull up both of them throwing combinations in a video. Side by side, get ready, hit play at the same time for both. Inaba's getting like 5-6 punches out by the time that Arteaga gets 2. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's not. That's accurate. She's very, very fast in her strikes. She does have clean combinations. She doesn't have a ton of power, but the combinations are quick, and I do think that she's going to have a much better, the bigger advantage on the feet by kind of a landslide. But Arteaga's not lost on the feet, but the grappling is her best option. If this was even money, I would say Inaba's a good play, but the odds are probably not that. I don't know what the odds are, honestly, for this one, but Inaba's probably a pretty big favorite, and rightfully so. She is going to be a better striker, but if Arteaga does come out with a grappling-heavy game plan and she starts banking rounds that way, I could see her eking out a decision. But Inaba, far better striker. Like I said, she is so much faster, and that's going to be the thing. Could she get caught and then held down on the ground? Sure. But better striking, so I'm going to go with an Inaba. She's just so much faster. Let me know what you guys have, and I'll see you in the next. Get through a few fights that were kind of, who knows, and my picks have been kind of wishy-washy. I understand. It's Bellator prelims. You got to bear with me, guys. Bellator does that sometimes. We're on the prelims. You're kind of like, we just don't know. We don't know enough. But we're starting to get some matchups I feel better about. This one, we're still kind of on the fence, but we're getting to some I feel better about. So in this one here, we have Adli Edwards taking on Kai Kamaka III. Now for Kai Kamaka, he's had a weird run lately. It's 2-2-1 draw in his last 5. 4-1 for Edwards, but Kamaka's obviously been fighting the better level of competition. In this one, there is a distinct height and reach advantage on the side of Edwards. He is 5'10", He's 5'10" with a 72-inch reach, as opposed to 5'7" with a 68-inch reach of Kamaka. Now in this one, here's what we're looking at. Kamaka's going to want to strike. He is a good striker with fast kicks and power in his hands, and he can rely on his chin when he needs to. He does have decent wrestling, and I do believe he wrestled in college. Not at like a high-level college, but he did wrestle there from my understanding. His takedown defense isn't the best, but he pops right back to his feet a lot of the time. However, he's going up against a wrestler and grappler in Adli Edwards. And Adli Edwards, he has a variety of different takedowns he can get, with whether it's a body lock style takedown, or he can, just shoot a standard double leg takedown and pull you down that way. Kind of even ankle pick a guy and just bring him down. He does have good grappling, very, very good grappling actually once he gets you to the mat. His transitions are where it's at. He switches between positions well, and as an opponent starts to kind of work out of that, he scrambles to the next position or transitions to something more advantageous for him, rather than giving them the space to go with what they want to do. So if, say, they're doing their, their mount escape. He's got mount. They're trying to escape mount. Okay, great. They did everything right, and somehow he still ended up in an advantageous position, whether he's taken their back, or maybe he's just in north-south, which is a little bit less, but he's ended up in a position that's advantageous for him. I've seen that in a lot of his fights, where he's able just to find the right position. Because his top control is not great, but he's able to kind of flow with it and just do well to maintain his spot. Now, his striking is very erratic and not necessarily good, but it does set up his takedowns very well. He uses his length well, and that's important. So when he's throwing these long shots, whatever, and he's like moving his head all wild, yeah, he could just get knocked out horribly by Kamaka because he hits very hard. But I think it's going to set up the takedowns. And I think Edwards is going to be able to start getting a few more takedowns as this fight goes on. If he can make it out of that first round, I think he's going to be able to start hitting more and more takedowns. And I think he's going to be able to get on top of Kamaka and actually win this fight. Probably be a decision. I don't think he's going to submit Kamaka, but I think he can actually win this fight on the ground, being able to use this toolbox he has here. And I know they're probably trying to bring Edwards in there to lose, but I think he's got a real shot here. So I assume he's a pretty big underdog. So if you're looking for an underdog on the card, he's not necessarily the worst choice. There are some better ones probably, but he's not necessarily the worst choice. I'm going to take Edwards as my pick. I'm picking way too many close fights in this one, and I hate it. This card's a very hard one to pick. But let me know what you guys have, and I'll see you guys in the next. Up next, we have Justin Gonzalez coming in 4-1 in his last 5. His only loss in his career is to Aaron Pico, and that's what that one is. Mads Burnell, on the other hand, is 3-2 in his last 5. Had a bit different of a career compared to the Gonzalez. A lot higher level competition, was in the UFC for a while. He now finds himself into Bellator. This one here, there is a slight height and reach advantage, but it is notable because of the styles. So 5'8" with a 68-inch reach for Burnell, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach for Gonzalez. But Gonzalez striking is why I wanted to mention that, because he does work well at range. He's a good striker who puts everything into his punches. In fact, he has a very heavy jab. Like when he lands his jab, it's not like most people when they flick that jab out there and hit you and touch you and set up other punches. Dude's hurting people with jabs. Like, he's busting people up with that jab. So, very nice jab there. Puts a lot into his strikes. Damaging leg kicks. He's a decent wrestler in his own right, but Mads Burnell is a very good wrestler. But decent wrestler in his own right. Has a nice sprawl. Back taker once he can get it to the mat. So, striking advantage should go to Gonzalez here, but it's close for a couple of reasons. Because Mads Burnell's threat of the takedown is always there. And because of the threat of the takedown, he can start landing some strikes. In fact, he has this constant head movement going where he's always slipping and ducking and feinting takedowns and stuff like that. And because of that, it makes it so we can open up those strikes with kind of unorthodox strikes and land some good shots. Work the body as he ducks down, come with the overhand, whatever. And he's able to make pretty good success in his striking because of that. So his striking here set up from his wrestling here. Because his wrestling very good. When he gets on a takedown, he sticks with that takedown. Whether he gets you to the mat or ends up pushing you all the way up against the cage and then starts working for a different takedown from there, he sticks with those takedowns, and that's important. He's like glue on his opponent. He's like glue. He also catches kicks very well and uses those as a takedown or can duck under an opponent's punches for a takedown. He's looking to get the fight to the mat. The thing that gives me pause about Mads Burnell is he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, and those last 2 fights are his last 2 losses. He didn't quite look like the same Mads Burnell, and it gives me just a little bit of worry because Justin Gonzalez is a real deal with his striking. Everybody's thinking, Justin Gonzalez, who's this guy beaten? Well, yeah, but he's only also lost Aaron Pico. There's not a lot of shame in that. So, for Gonzalez, I think he's got the better striking here, and I think if he can keep it at range, he's going to be able to do some damage. But I do think Mads Burnell is so much better in the grappling and wrestling department that unless we are at the point where Burnell's fallen off, Burnell should be able to get back on track here and get the win. I'm not as confident in this as I would like to be. And if this fight was 2 fights ago for Burnell, I'd be picking Burnell all day. But the last 2 fights, he just didn't quite look the same. So I'm picking Burnell. I think he's going to get the wrestling and grappling going. And if he does, I think he should be successful in this matchup. I think his striking's good enough with the threat of the takedown to be able to hold his own. However, Gonzalez starts sprawling a few takedowns and starts throwing those heavy shots. It's going to be a tough night for Burnell. But Burnell's the pick. Let me know what you guys have. Am I being weird and there's no reason to worry and Burnell's got this as a lock? I don't know. But let me know. I'll see you in the next lightweight matchup between a couple of guys that, kind of have had a rough patch in their career as of late. We have Charlie Leary. He's coming in 2-3 in his last 5. He's taking on Yancy Medeiros, who's 1-4 in his last 5. Which, to be fair, that 4-fight skid was against pretty good level of competition over in the UFC. He's now in Bellator. He got a win in his last fight, so he's broken the losing streak. But Medeiros, 35, so he's the younger guy, as opposed to the 40 for Leary. It's not often you get to put a plus by a 35, but there we go. This one here is an interesting matchup because it should be very fun for as long as it lasts. Both guys are going to come to throw hands. The boxing of Charlie Leary is there. I love his forward pressure style of just volume. He's not even really throwing combinations, but more just continuously throwing punches. And it's just one combination the entire time, basically, until his opponent stumbles backwards and he has to, catch up. But the dude's durable. He can eat a shot as he's going and just keep firing back at you. And he's just going to keep overwhelming you with his boxing until you get to hit the mat. And then he's going to start going to the ground and pound. That's his style, and that's what he wants to do. And this matchup is going to be a good one for him. He's got Yancy Medeiros going on the other side who loves a brawl. And guess what? If you love a brawl, a guy like Charlie Leary also is going to want to brawl with you. Because Yancy Medeiros, heck of a striker, works these nasty combinations. He has very damaging punches. Now, he doesn't have just that one-shot knockout power. But when he hits you, you feel it, and they just build up over time with his long, rangy shots. His arms look longer than they are, I think, because when he's throwing these punches, they feel like they're coming from way out here, and then when he gets in tight, they sneak up under stuff. I don't know how he does it, but anyway, long, damaging shots, got good volume, and when it hits the mat, the dude's got good jiu-jitsu, and he has nasty chokes. His front chokes. If you look back earlier in his UFC career, before he went on that losing streak, dude was just ripping dudes' heads off, all right? If that's still there, if it goes to the ground, he's going to be fine. And that ground and pound when he gets on top is just gnarly. I know I've given you some back and forth picks, whatever. And if you've hung with me so far and you've already liked the video and you're just one of the ride or dies, appreciate you so freaking much. But I'm going to give you a pick here that I feel good about. If any of the Yancy Medeiros that we all know and love that just gets in there and just starts hurting people is left in him, which I think it is. He got a win in his last fight. If any of that's left in Yancy Medeiros, he's going to beat the absolute piss out of Charlie Leary, and it's going to be fun to watch for as long as it lasts. It'll be kind of sad afterwards when you see Charlie Leary laying there just bloodied and beaten. But Yancy Medeiros is getting this one done unless he's just not the guy that he used to be, which might be possible, but I'm pretty good on Yancy Medeiros here. I think he's going to walk through Charlie Leary. As tough as he is, I think that's going to be to his detriment because when he gets into a brawl with Medeiros, Medeiros is going to put the hurting on him. I'm picking Medeiros here. Let me know what you guys have. Like this video. Give it a little kiss for me. I appreciate you very much. Seeing one of the matchups on the card that I'm most looking forward to. And for those of you that have made it this far and you're still enjoying yourselves, hit like for me. I appreciate it so much. Maybe toss a subscription on this video or on this channel because guess what? I'm almost there to 1,000 and I'm trying my hardest to get there. That's the next big goal. And I appreciate all of you for subscribing and all of you who've already done so and have been sticking around with my videos for a while now. Thank you so much. Let's break down this matchup between Kyoji Horiguchi and Ray Borg. This is going to be a fun one. I'm super looking forward to this one. Horiguchi 3-2 in his last 5, 4-1 for Ray Borg. Horiguchi's fought the best competition by far out of Bellator, I would say. The dude, that 31-5, his 5 losses are to people that are top tier, okay? He's not losing to bums. His 31 wins, a lot of those are top tier fighters as well. Some of the wins this dude has, I mean, he's beaten Darren Caldwell twice, which is impressive. I mean, the dude's great. Horiguchi has a great rap sheet, let's put it that way. For Ray Borg, nothing to shake a stick at either. This guy's pretty darn good. He does have very good wrestling, and he's going to pursue those takedowns relentlessly. If he doesn't get the takedown, he's just going to keep going. Switch to another one. Keep going. Switch to another one. And when he gets it on the mat, the rear naked choke is kind of where he wants to get it to because he does have a pretty damn nasty rear naked choke. On the feet, though, he does a decent striking, good leg kick, and I love his forward pressure, but his striking defense leaves much to be desired. When he's fighting a guy like Horiguchi, that striking is very good. He has great footwork, able to get in and out, go in, land a combination, get back out before his opponent even knows what hit him. However, he is susceptible to counter shots because he has to keep his hands very low. He has that kind of karate style, kind of like a Wonder Boy type of thing for those of you that are more UFC centered. Horiguchi was there too, did some great stuff there, but anyway, he's going to move in, land his combination, and get back out. And when he hits you, you know about it. He puts some damage on them shots. He does have decent wrestling in his own right. Nowhere near the level of Borg. Borg's pretty good on the wrestling, but he has solid ground and pound once he gets on top. I feel really good about Horiguchi in this matchup. I think he's a much better fighter. I think Ray Borg his last few fights were at over Eagle FC or something like that. I watched those fights. He looked all right. Got a couple of wins. Horiguchi's a better fighter. He's much better striker. I think this fight's going to be on the feet a lot of the time. I think he's going to be able to get out of range to make the takedowns tough enough for Borg not to be able to get him, and he's going to make him pay for the attempts. Horiguchi should get it done. I feel really good about that pick. Let me know what you guys think. Am I crazy? Usually I pick wrestlers over strikers. Not this time. So let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. 4-1 in their last 5 in the featherweight division. James Gonzalez taking on Aaron Pico. Now, in this one here, Gonzalez is stepping in short notice. I don't know when he got the call, but it was supposed to be Otto Rodriguez was the original matchup. But anyway, Gonzalez is now stepping in. He's fighting a guy in Aaron Pico who realistically is one of the better fighters in Bellator, but he's coming off of a loss with a shoulder injury to Jeremy Kennedy. You hate to see a guy coming in off a loss and then be really confident in him, but we've got Aaron Pico with pretty much all the skills that he needs to win most fights in Bellator. The dude has strong boxing. He's very heavy-handed, works in combinations, to the body, to the head. He's got a whole highlight reel on Bellator's YouTube page of him just knocking people out. So you know he hits pretty hard. But also, he's got strong wrestling as well. He has a wide variety of different takedowns he can use to get the fight to the mat. And he has a very good wrestling ride. Once he gets into that position, he's throwing ground and pound from there and just kind of riding guys out, keeping them, that sounds weird, just keeping them stuck where they need to be while he's hitting them from that wrestling ride position. On the other side, we have James Gonzalez, who he taking this on short notice, like I said, and his striking leaves a lot to be desired. Honestly, I didn't think he beat Cody Law in his matchup with Cody Law, but he won the 3rd round so impressively that I think judges forgot that round 2 was pretty close and Cody Law probably did better because round 1 was definitely Law. I don't know. That was bad, but it wasn't the worst decision I've ever seen, but it wasn't a good one. He definitely won the 3rd round, but it's because his striking wasn't very good. The only thing he's really able to do is kind of remain defensive, and he does have good kicks up the middle. I'll give him that, the front kick where he can go to the body or the face, but that's about it on the striking. When he gets to the mat, though, his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very good. He has excellent transitions, and he can control you. He'll lock in that body triangle and just kind of ride on you, throw the hammers, throw the punches, fish for a choke, switch to like a, armbar, whatever. He's very, very good with his jiu-jitsu, and he has the cardio to ride out a fight as long as he has to in order to get to that position. If he ends up being able to grapple with Aaron Pico, he does have a shot because the jiu-jitsu is very good, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Pico is going to destroy him on the feet, and I think he has the wrestling to stop any attempts at takedowns, because Gonzalez's takedowns aren't that good. He just needs the fight to get to the mat to win. I think Pico gets this one done. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. He's over a minus 700 at this point, but Pico's my pick. Let me know what you guys think. We'll go to the main event because that one's a blast. In this matchup here, we have Ilima-Lei McFarlane taking on Kana Watanabe, I think is how you say that. Watanabe is 4-1 in her last 5, 3-2 for McFarlane. McFarlane has kind of danced around the idea of retirement and kind of like whether her heart was in the sport. Then she's kind of reeled that back a little bit, and then she says she's in. That does make me worry just a bit, and I wanted to start off with that because when you break down the matchup, you got Watanabe here, who's good in the grappling. Very good there. She's a back taker with some decent ground and pound. When she wants to get the fight to the mat, she has decent wrestling. She shoots a very low shot. Tries to get way down to the low part of the legs, whether the calf or the ankles, and pull the legs out from under you. But her striking leaves a lot to be desired. She's not a striker. It's not good. On the other side, McFarlane, she's not the best striker either, but it's decent. And she does strike in flurries, which I think she is the better striker of the two. But realistically, both women want this fight to the mat. Watanabe wants to be on top. McFarlane actually wants to be off the bottom and work her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is actually solid as get out. It is good. Her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I do like it. Off of her back, she's very active, but she can be content to stay here, and I don't like that typically for fight-winning abilities. But she has an arm bar to triangle sequence that she goes through and transitions back and forth between the two. Throws up the triangle, switch to the arm bar, switch back to the triangle, arm bar with triangle. She goes back and forth between these two very seamlessly, and it's fantastic. I do really like that. Slicing elbows on the bottom where she's coming off her back, or if she gets on top, those elbows are sick. There was a fight, I forget who she was fighting off the top of my head, put a gash in her forehead like that you could fit like a fist in. I don't know. It was just gnarly. Obviously, they had to stop the fight. She has a very large toolbox on the mat. So I do think actually the grappling of McFarlane is better than Watanabe. Here's the problem. It's the fact that she's considered retirement, or if her heart's not in it. So if her heart's not in it, she might lose this fight. But skill for skill, McFarlane, I think, is the better fighter still at this point in her career than Watanabe is. I'm going to pick McFarlane. I actually bet McFarlane. I'm not mega confident in this, but you get her at underdog pricing, and I think she can get this one done. I'm taking her. It should be competitive, but I think off of her back, she's going to be able to threaten with enough stuff, land enough elbows, that even if she's not able to get the finish, when you look at the two, the eye test is going to say McFarlane won the fight. That's just where I see it. Let me know what you guys think. I don't recommend tailing my bet there, but especially because I don't know what the odds are now. But when I bet her, I got her like plus 125 or something like that, and I'll take those odds on McFarlane in a grappling matchup any day. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next guys, fight. This fight probably deserves its own individual video. But with 3 fight cards for you to break down this weekend, I did not have time to make another thumbnail, make another in-depth video. So you're going to get this one in the full card breakdown. And real quick, do me a solid if you're still here. Hit that like button, give it a little 1-2 combination, whatever you got to do. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you can see all of my breakdowns, my Bellator, my UFC, whatever, Dana White's Contender Series, all of that stuff right there in your subscriptions tab. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 mark because, well, you know what? That's a big milestone. We added another digit to that darn thing. And I appreciate you guys for subscribing and all that good stuff. Lastly, if you want to help this channel without spending any money, without even clicking anything aside from just, whatever, tell your friends about it. Say, hey, found this 138 MMA guy and I kind of like his fight breakdowns. Or you can even take it to the next step and shoot him a link to this in a text message or something like that. I appreciate it so, so much more than you know. Post it everywhere you want. But anyway, let's break down this main event because this is a darn good fight between 2 super high-level grapplers. We've got Patchy Mix, who's coming in 4-1 in his last 5, and Raufeon Stots, who's 5-0 in the last 5. Both guys with only 1 loss in their entire career. That's fantastic. Interesting height and reach, though. Mix is the taller fighter by a pretty decent margin. He's 5'11" as opposed to the 5'7" of Stots, but actually has a 1-inch shorter reach. because Stots has a freakishly long wingspan. He has a 72.5-inch reach, and for someone who's 5'7", that's crazy. For Mix, he's got a more normal reach, and 71.5 is pretty reasonable for somebody his height. This is a very interesting matchup because we have a guy in Raufeon Stots who's the champion. You know what? Tell you what, I'm going to start with Patchy Mix. Champion should get last, just like when they enter the cage last. So we're going to start with Patchy Mix. With Patchy Mix, very high-level grappling. This dude can grapple at an incredible pace for for a few rounds. And when he's doing that, he has excellent transitions. He has a huge toolbox. The dude's looking for the sub. He has a nasty body triangle, and his long limbs really help with that because he can get those legs around the body, lock that crap down, and start looking for those subs. And he's also got a very nasty guillotine. For any wrestlers trying to shoot on him, he's got that guillotine there. He can get on top, work the guillotine from top. He's definitely vicious with that, and he has a large toolbox of submissions, like I said, and he's going to be looking for those in this matchup particularly. He has very good wrestling to get the fight to the mat. His chain wrestling, he could just keep, switching between singles and doubles and, body locks and whatever. He does have a very nice body lock takedown, actually, and his takedown defense is very good as well. Go figure, because his wrestling and his grappling is just top level. This right here, fantastic. He's going against another grappler, which is very interesting, or another highly skilled grappler. Very interesting. Now, his striking, I give it a decent rating. It's not good at all, except for that front kick he has. He has a very good front kick. That is what brings it to decent striking. His front kick, that right there, that's it. The rest of it kind of sucks. He throws single shots, not super skilled. Kind of leaves himself wide open in the striking. His striking leaves a lot to be desired. For a fighter of this talent to be 17-1 on a career, to only have lost to Juan Archuleta, particularly because of the striking towards the end of the fight, yeah, I mean, just work on your striking, Patchy, because gosh darn it, you got all the skills in the grappling department. But that front kick is very good. He does fade after a few rounds of hard grappling. Here's the thing. When he fought Archuleta, those first 2 rounds, Patchy Mix looked phenomenal. But Archuleta was able to start turning it on in the third and just go. Archuleta is a beast, don't get me wrong, but Patchy Mix is fighting another beast in Raufeon Stots on this one because the guy's the champion for a reason. He has very high-level wrestling, and his wrestling defense is just as good as his wrestling offense. He has an excellent sprawl. His sweeps from the bottom are fantastic, and his get-up ability is very, very, very solid because what he's able to do is if he can't sweep you, he can use that as a moment to get out and shoot back to his feet quickly. He's very good, and his endless gas tank, I was going to mention it at the end, but I'm going to mention it now. His endless gas tank makes it very tough to hold him down because when you do take him down and he keeps getting back up, that will wear on you, and he just doesn't seem to get tired. He has excellent timing on his own takedowns. He puts them right when you don't expect them, goes when you're off balance or when you're trying to commit to a strike. Excellent timing. When he gets to the mat, he does have good submission defense from the top position, as well as from the bottom, but from the top position. And he's looking to take your back and just ride out rounds, working for the rear naked choke, probably not getting it, but working for it, and then slamming you with some shots and just riding out rounds of control. He also has solid striking, and kind of because of his deceptive range. It's that weird wingspan that he has. He has a very good jab because a lot of people just feel like they're out of range, and they're still eating that jab right in the mouth, and that's not what they want because they're like, man, why am I still getting hit? I feel like he's way over there. That's a problem that a lot of fighters have had when they're fighting Stots, is that jab is just deceptively long. And he's got a nasty head kick. We saw it in the Archuleta fight. That's about the only kick of his that's any good. His leg kicks kind of telegraphs the crap out of him, doesn't throw with a lot of power. Body kicks, I don't know. For whatever reason, when he throws it up to the head, though, it's a good kick. Don't know why. But he also suffers from the single shot problem that Patchy Mix suffers from. I do think he has better striking, though. The fact that he has that good jab, that head kick, and that good range, that is what gives him a solid rating on the striking for me. But the gas tank is the key. In this matchup, if gas tank wasn't an issue, if both guys had endless cardio, this matchup is razor thin. But I think Raufeon Stots is almost guaranteed to win rounds 4 and 5, assuming it gets there, which I do believe it will. So he just has to bank one other round. And for a guy like Stots, I think he's going to be able to do that because he's so gosh darn good. For me, I like Stots in this matchup. The cardio is the thing. Going into the matchup, I feel like he's already got 2 rounds done. He's already got round 4 and 5. He has the cardio that Patchy Mix is not going to have, especially when trying to grapple at a high pace for the first 2-3 rounds. If it ends up being a striking match in the last couple of rounds, there's a chance that Stots knocks out Patchy Mix. there's no chance, not no chance, there's a very, very, very slim chance that Patchy Mix is going to knock out Raufeon Stots. For the simple fact that Stots is going to be the better striker, and he's going to have the grappling to wear on a guy like Patchy Mix. We saw how Patchy Mix was grappling with Archuleta, who's a very good grappler in his own right, and that wore him out after 2 rounds. Stots is a better grappler than Archuleta, if you ask me, just for the fact that he has the wrestling ability as well as that submission defense just to kind of make it so you can't wear him down. I feel like Stots has this one, but this is going to be a very tough test for the champion. Let me know what you guys have. I wish this one could have got its own breakdown. This is a phenomenal fight, and I absolutely cannot wait to watch this one. Let me know where you're at on this card. Throw your picks down in the comments, or let me know what you thought. I even had to whip out a finer tip marker for this one because I didn't want this one to look like crap when it's all the way down to here. So, hey, the sacrifices I make for you guys, huh? All right, I'll see you guys in the next breakdown. I'm sure there's one popping up on the end screen now to tell you to watch that one. So, see you there.